Hi guys, so today I thought I would dedicate this video to Webtoon and Webtoon comics that I really love and want to recommend to anyone who is interested. I do want to mention quickly that I am definitely in a different setting than I usually film. I just wanted to film in a place that was a little cozier, which is why I chose this place. Hopefully the lighting isn't too bad and the quality of the video isn't too bad, but yeah. Anyway, I just counted them and now I forgot. I think I have 30-ish comics that I'd like to recommend to you guys. I will be mentioning whether they're originals or canvas comics, whether they are complete or not, what day they are updated, and I will be reading the summary of each one just because I am terrible at explaining stories and I'd rather not waste more time than necessary, so yeah. But yeah, I have very different stories to recommend, so hopefully there's something for everyone who might be interested. Anyway, I'm no particular order. I do want to mention also, I know I will be getting onto the video that when November is the 22nd of January and I will be putting this video release later, so a lot of these comics have either come back or chapters have been uploaded again, so it's almost, it's not extremely relevant to when you make this video, but the stories are in January or February, so yeah. We are now ready to begin. The first story that I'm going to mention is Miss Abbott and the Doctor. It's now finished, and so now if you want to read it, you have to wait every day to have a free pass to read the story. I was lucky enough that I read it just before it turned into a completely finished story. There are 184 episodes. It's the story of Dr. Andreas Marino loves his quiet life filled with work and simple amusements, and when the strange Miss Abbott arrives in his town, he decides he doesn't like her at all. Unfortunately, she's funny and quirky, has an uncommon past, and seems to enjoy getting him in trouble. Welcome to a sketchy Victorian rom-com. The story is by Mary Paz Villa. I probably should have mentioned that before, but as it said, it's set in Victorian times, so you know, you have the technology of the time and dresses, but there are quite a few modern aspects of it. For example, the characters have mindsets of today, and I don't know, it's a very sweet story, and a story not to be taken too seriously. It's just, yeah, very fun love story between these completely different characters from completely different backgrounds. There are also other characters that are very interesting to read about, and the drawings are made as sketches, which it's not something you see often on Webtoon, but as an artist it's very interesting to see. One of the reasons why I wanted to mention it on YouTube is because it inspires me a lot as an artist to see all these different artists create things that they're passionate about, and this story personally I find really inspiring. Even the story in itself is amazing, so that's why I recommend it. The next story is a romance again. It's Down to Earth by Pookie Senpai. It's currently in hiatus because it has been the season final, so it will come back for season 2.
He's back! He's back! Voldemort's back!
And the story is about Cade, who lives his average life alone and undisturbed until a cute alien girl crashes into his backyard. By opening up his home, will this otherworldly girl inadvertently open up his heart? Can't remember her name for the life of me, but she's absolutely adorable, and Cade is great too. I love their friendship and interactions as they figure out how to live kind of together. Yeah, it's a great story and I recommend it a lot, which I don't know why I'm saying this because this video is a recommendation, so obviously I'm recommending all the ones that I'm mentioning, but yeah. The next story is called Unholy Blood by Line Im and Jeon Kim. Again, I'm sorry about the pronunciation. It's considered a supernatural because it has to do with vampires. It's a completed original story, so it is said that this series will become a Daily Pass series on February the 24th of 2022. So yeah, they are 92 episodes. For the summary, it says, when vampires destroy her chance to have the normal life she's always wanted, Ayan is forced to draw on her darkest secret to rid the world of the merciless hunters that took it over 10 years ago. With the support of a rising star in the local police force, Ayan steps up to protect her loved ones, face her past, and get her revenge. But yeah, it's a vampire, Hayan, and Euntae, the police officer, who decided to kind of work together to get rid of all of the vampires to make the world a better place, and it's a difficult thing to do, as you can imagine. But it's a really sweet story. I know the author said that she wanted to mix supernatural with romance. There's a lot of romance in there too. But yeah, really great story. Some episode I did cry and sobbed because it's so touching, and I did cry for a couple. The next one is called Reunion by Defects. It's considered a romance. There's currently 6 episodes. It was originally on Instagram and then it became a Webtoon story as a canvas, but it is now moving to originals, so it will probably come out in a few months. Stay tuned for that if you're interested. But summary is, after moving away for a decade, Rhea returns to the city and embarks on a quest for self-discovery. Upon her return, she bumps into a familiar face, one she didn't think she would ever see again. Feelings rekindle as secrets begin to unfold. Rhea soon realizes her childhood friend may not be who she believes him to be, and thus her most cherished relationship is put to the test. It's a very, very sweet story because of the romance. There's not a lot of chapters yet because of it moving to original, but it definitely will be way more chapters. The next one I am so excited about because, let me just say it first, it's Suitor Armor by Purpa, and it's a fantasy and a original story, and it was on a break because it was season final, but it came back yesterday and it was so I did not expect it to come back again. Well, I did because it said it would return, and yeah. But it came back yesterday and I was so excited, and so I read it and it was great. It was such a good episode. It was such a good episode. The season 2 premiere, episode 52, Chef's Kiss. It was so good, and even the previous ones have been amazing. Oh yeah, the thing about the story, basically, let me... my thoughts all over the place, but anyway. Summary. Let's go. Lady-in-waiting Lucia believes getting through the royal wedding will be the toughest part of her new life. That is until she finds herself falling head over heels with Modius, an up-and-coming knight to the King's Guard. With a newfound interest, she is quickly awakened to the mysteries of the kingdom when she learns Modius is in fact an enchanted suit of armor without a soul. Could there be more to him than just shining armor? Updates every Friday. It's so good. Oh my god, I've never fallen in love with a story so quickly. First chapter, I think I gave it a like because it was so good. And 3 chapters in, I was already completely enthralled. Is that the word? Let me know. Yes, that's the word. I was completely enthralled, and it's, oh my god, it's so cute and sweet, but there's also really sad and and I will be reading the summary of each one just because I am terrible at explaining stories, and I'd rather not waste more time than necessary. Basically, she's a fairy and she lives among humans, and no one really knows that she is a fairy, and so she has to basically hide who she is while also not knowing who she is, because she was found by the king because there's a war between fairies and humans, and she was found when she was really, really young, so she doesn't really remember who she is, what fairies are, and so she really struggles with that, with having to hide and also not knowing what she's really hiding, I suppose. But Modius is the love of my life. He's so cute. I've read episodes that have made my heart explode just with how adorable it was. Just, it looks like I'm going to cry. I'm not going to cry, but I truly overwhelmed with emotions. Like, the first thing he does is give her a rose. I mean, he does do something first, but technically he does give her a rose, and it's just so cute. I can't take it. This story is definitely on my top 3, and my top 3 does have 4 stories, but who cares? I make the rules. It's my top 3. I get to decide. But yeah, read it. It's so good. I'm so glad it's back. I missed it so much, but yeah. The next one is called Defects. It's considered a fantasy and it's by Marshmallow. It's currently a canvas story being turned into a original. It's now an original story. After an attempted kidnapping, Ellie finds herself under the protection of a secret society. She has to work to earn her keep, and in doing so, she slowly learns more about her foggy past. In the midst of dealing with monsters and a whole new world of magic, her heart is starting to feel something new to her as well. It's so interesting to reread the summaries after actually reading the story, because to me the synopsis does not capture the story in itself at all. Well, I guess you do want to be vague enough that you're not spoiling anything, but from from what I know of the canvas version, it's these people who have superpowers and who all live in a kind of building, and they're given missions to fight monsters and stuff, and there's a lot of friendship and relationships. And obviously, yeah, the main character, as the synopsis said, she does not know anything about her parents and her past, and so it's also about her trying to figure out who she is as a person, where she came from, and also learn how to control her powers because she doesn't know how to do that yet. But yeah, I think that's all I'm going to say about this one, but it's a really good one. I really recommend. I can't believe I've only mentioned like 6 stories. There's so many more to mention. I'm going to try to make this a little faster because I have been filming for 30 minutes. So, okay, the next story is Brimstone and Roses, which has been put on a hiatus again. According to the summary, the story is about Bea, who is over her ex. Absolutely, completely over her, except that she's not. When Bea finds out that her ex is also attending her sister's wedding, Bea does what any logical person would do and summons an incredibly hot, sarcastic demon to be her date. But demons are tricky, and now hers won't leave her alone. The story is from Experiment. As the summary says, it's a story about Bea and this demon who is a great character. They end up having to make a contract, as you would do if you summon a demon, but then she ends up regretting that contract because obviously it's binding and serious business, but they end up trying to figure out how to find that contract and reverse the whole thing, which they have to figure out how to live with each other and bear the consequences of her actions, you know. But yeah, I'll leave it at that, but it's a really great story. I think anyone would enjoy it, so yeah, check it out. Ooh, the next one. I'm so excited about the next one. The next one is The Secrets of Soulford by The Quinsel, and it's considered a fantasy and it's a canvas. It's so good. I cannot explain to you how freaking fantastic it is. It's definitely on my top 3 stories. I love it so much, and it's so underrated for what it is. Honestly, it's so good. I'm going to try to explain to you just how brilliant it is, but for the summary, Gan Aim just wants to live an invisible life in her new home, Soulford, but a local guard is far too determined to uncover the secrets she's desperate to hide, especially since Gan is certain he's also concealing secrets of his own. The resulting feud might unearth deeper truths than either of them are prepared to face. It says updates every Friday at noon East. Well, she does technically upload every Friday, but since a couple weeks or months she's been having issues with her wrist, so she's had to take a break from the story and drawing, but she is coming back and re-uploading. But it's fine, honestly, the story is completely worth waiting even a year for it. But yeah, it's about this town and these characters who have secrets of their own and have kind of magical things about them. And I was gonna say it's kind of an enemies to lovers story. I mean, they're still not lovers, but they definitely started at some point where they really hated each other. I absolutely love the way the author wrote the relationship between the 2 characters. I think it's brilliant. I've read all of them, all the episodes that are available, and they are definitely starting to kind of not have feelings for each other, but they're definitely blushing, and just seeing their relationship and I guess friendship just turn into something more than just hating each other is so satisfying, and the story has made me so happy. So if you had to read a couple stories from this list, this one should definitely be on that list because it's I love it so much. It's so original, I think. It's great. The next story that I'm going to mention today is Siren Lament by Instant Miso. It was an original story, but it's now completely finished. So you have 5 free episodes every day. It's considered as a romance because it's quite a prominent part of the story. I personally love romance, so you will definitely see a lot of those in today's list. But here's the summary. Content with her ordinary life, Lyra is somewhat of a wallflower. However, her comfortable lifestyle suddenly goes astray when she accidentally plunges into the world of sirens. Entangled in a curse, Lyra will learn that her world may be a lot bigger than she had ever imagined. There are 199 episodes. The artwork is so beautiful, and a lot of these chapters have music in them. and the storyline is amazing. It's funny and heartbreaking and touching. I had definitely a lot of fun reading that one. So, plus, I'm sorry, but Cohen is adorable and one of my favorite characters in the story, so read that one if you want to find out who he is. The next one is called Ava's Demon by Tiny Paint, and it's classified as a sci-fi, and it's canvas. It updates every Wednesdays. The main thing that I like to say about the story is the art. The art is so pretty. Every panel is so well drawn and made. It's insane, but it's so good, honestly. And the characters are really touching, especially Ava. She is really struggling in the story. Ava's Demon is about a girl named Ava and the demon hunting her. The demon, however, might just be the ghost of an alien queen, Waithia, seeking revenge on the one that destroyed her empire, a godlike figure named Titan. The story follows Ava as she makes her way across the universe, teaming up with Waithia on a quest for revenge while fighting her inner demons along the way. And yeah, there's also other characters like Odin. Odin is great, really like him. But yeah, I would really recommend reading the story because it's so good. Again, the story building, the world building, the characters, amazing, honestly. The next story is called Novae by Kaixju. It's a canvas story and is considered a drama. So, Raziel is an astronomer with a romantic heart. Sylvain is a kind-hearted necromancer with a troubled past. A strong connection forms between them as they discover the cosmos together, and their relationship blooms. But trouble lurks in the streets of Paris. When the body of a fellow astronomer is found on the steps of the Academy of Sciences, signs point to dark magic, and Raziel and Sylvain's lives become entangled in ways they could never foresee. LGBT plus M/M. Yeah, there are some very fantasy aspects of the story, and obviously romance. You have a lot of astronomy in this story too, which I find really interesting actually. And it's just an overall really sweet story, even though someone died or was murdered, and you have to kind of uncover that truth, which we still don't really know what happened, but there are some pretty sketchy things going on in the story and pretty intriguing. The next story is one of my absolute favourite stories. If I had to, I'll probably mention my top 3 at the very end. Actually, I might do it now, just because I'm too excited about it. No, I'll do it later. Okay. Anyway, this one is one of my top 3 stories of Webtoon, and it's Midnight Poppyland by Lily Dusk. It's considered a romance, and according to the summary, after making a grisly discovery in the countryside, a small town book editor's life gets entangled with a young mafia lord and his intimidating bodyguard. Even as every step she takes draws her deeply into the dangerous underworld of the city. It sounds very like all the other kind of stories about mafia people, mafia stories, but it's such a good story. I cannot explain how good it is. You may have read it or heard of it before. There's Poppy and Tora, and god, there's such good characters. The author managed to encapture certain things so well, and she is so good at storytelling, and I can't like this story more than I do. I love it. I'm a sucker for romance, and this completely fills out all the boxes that I love to read in romance. So yeah, definitely check it out. It's amazing. I love it so much. Anyway, the next story is called At Arm's Length by Sushi, and I'm on episode 15. That does not mean that I don't like the story enough to read it. I have enough stories to read, and so I'd rather hold these for later to enjoy. According to the summary, after a bad year at university, Michael returns to school after taking a year off to manage his mental health. His life has mostly returned to normal, but he still has a feeling of uncertainty. Afraid of getting hurt, he keeps everyone at a distance until the Ice Queen, quote-unquote, catches his attention. Through his attempt to pursue her, he realizes in order to melt her heart, he has to open up his. Slowly, the distance between them begins to close. Drama, mature, NA, psychological, and romance. Extremely centered around mental health and these characters who struggle a lot. Yeah, I really find the main character very interesting to read about. It's a canvas story.
Wrong!
The next one is called Renegade by Ko Shan. It's a canvas story and it's considered a drama. It's also on my love meter. It's very high because the characters are so interesting and so intricately written. So for the summary, money won't make you likable, neither will a lousy attitude. But maybe there is someone who's willing to listen to you, and maybe this person will understand the mess that is going on inside their head. Trigger warnings: alcohol, drug abuse, depression. The main character is Oscar, and a lot of people hate him or very much dislike him, and I think that's a great sign of character building. That means that he has been so well written that people can actually really hate him, and he does do pretty bad things, but I really like the fact that he has so many flaws because you kind of can't help but root for him to get that character development. I really like him as a character because he's really interesting to read about because of those flaws that a lot of authors don't have the courage to put into their main characters, and he's just really struggling, and I personally would like him to get better. It's a great story, and the last few episodes have been so good. I can't wait to see what the author does with the story. Oliver, another main character, is such a sweetheart, and yeah, just very great and well-rounded characters. But yeah, and there's a dog. I can't remember her name. She appears quite often in the story and she's adorable. So if that doesn't convince you to read it, then I don't know what will. But yeah, cute dog, beautiful, sexy characters, a lot of trauma, just a fantastic story. So yeah, read it. The next one is a canvas story and it's called Daughter of the Sun by Vishki. Again, there are many chapters that I have not read yet. I'm on episode 39. In a universe ruled by powerful gods that no one can go against, two lovers fight for their forbidden relationship, a romance between the daughter of the sun and the son of the moon. It's a great story. I love the character designs of each character in the story. I really recommend. It's a nice, sweet, interesting story to read about in a world that is completely different from ours. The next one is The Croaking by Icarise. It's considered a fantasy and it's an original story. So for the summary, The Roost, the world's most prestigious military academy, has never accepted a crow into its ranks, until now. However, the conditions surrounding Skroa's acceptance are shrouded in conspiracy, and his new roommate Kai won't rest until he finds out just where he goes every night. Between flight tests, classes, murders, Skroa, Kai and Ree must band together to uncover the truth about their utopia and the whispers of a super weapon, the Croaking, that are seeping from the cracks. Updates every Saturday. It's basically this world where everyone is a bird, kind of, and depending on the type of bird that you are either an outcast or a part of the high society. Like your place in society depends on your circumstances, basically. Being a crow is the lowest kind of thing you can be, I think. These characters, they all have secrets that they are not willing to tell anyone. Yeah, there's a lot of mystery and friendship, love. But yeah, they will have secrets and you know there's going to be things happening about those and you don't know what's going to happen, and it's a very intriguing story. I think the author did a fantastic job with the whole world that has been created. The next story is called Nice to Meet You. It's considered a romance and it's by Wishroom Ness. It's an original. For the summary, it's a ditzy university student, Mew, finds a lost student card. Instead of doing the sensible thing, Mew decides to let fate take the wheel and try something silly. Little did she know she would be confronting the owner of the card, Days, who has some things to say about what she did. Did Mew make the biggest mistake of her life, or the best decision of her life? Follow these two adorable goofballs to find out. It does mention these two characters, but there are many other characters, like her best friend, her brother, another great best friend, and they're all really sweet people. It's basically these characters figuring out their feelings for one another and just figuring out life, and I think they're in college, university. Yeah, it's really sweet and adorable. You do have a couple conflicts and obviously people have things that they're dealing with, and I've read all of the episodes that are available for now, and it's a really great story. I really care about the characters too, so I would give it a try if you're interested in that type of thing. The next story is Code Adam. I stopped at episode 63, but there are many others afterwards. So for the summary, they were trained as children to become super soldiers, human beings literally created in a lab to fight on the front lines of a bloody war. But when the war ends, what's to be done with the human weapons? The subject of brutal experiments, some choose to break free and search for a cure before their own powers consume them. Yeah, there's these, I don't know how many children, 7 children who end up becoming adults and they have superpowers. I know that one of the main characters is called Atlas, and he's so selfless. I've never seen a character more selfless than he is, and so you can't not feel for him and want the best for him because he's so sweet, and at the same time you kind of want to shout at him to stop being so selfless and actually, care about himself. But yeah, I love his relation with Nine, I think that's his name, basically his brother and best friend, so really sweet friendship. Next one is called Lucky by Case Hell. It's a canvas story. It's considered a sci-fi. The artwork is amazing. I love the artwork. Not that I'm only reading it for the artwork, but it's definitely what brought my attention to it. But then I just got stuck on the story because the story is great. There are currently 43 episodes. The 43rd episode is season 1 final, so I don't know, we will have to wait for the second season like you do with originals probably. But the story is about Lucky, who is a shapeshifter who's just trying to find his way out in the universe. After meeting Francis, a human willing to help, Lucky is hopeful that he might have finally found his home. But there's more at play here. Will Lucky have a real chance at living a normal human life with his new friends, or will the secrets of his past come back to haunt him? So yeah, it's about these shapeshifter, weird kind of creatures who come from the universe and who find themselves on Earth, and they meet humans and they end up really liking it here for some reason. And I say they because there's Lucky, who ends up meeting Francis, but there's also Red, there's basically this side story with Red and Chris. There's a intermission in the story where there's 4-5 chapters about only Red and Chris, and they are super touching episodes. And if you don't want to read the 43 episodes, which I would recommend doing because all of these episodes are great, the intermission is a great insight into what the story is. And if you're not sure about reading it, then I recommend reading the intermission, and that will probably motivate you to read the whole other story because it's great and it's a lot about these characters trying to find themselves and find a life that they are content with, and self-discovery and also sci-fi stuff. So yeah, I really recommend it. Plus it's a very underrated story, so if you would like to give some love to a webtoon, I recommend doing that with Lucky. The next story is Andy Bass by Kenny Duck. So Andy Bass is just like any other high school sophomore. She has to deal with maintaining grades, having an arch nemesis, falling for a cute transfer student, and most importantly being a vertical mermaid. Totally normal, right? Andy is the most hideous creature alive, and she still has to attend public school. Updates every Friday. It's an original story. It's considered a comedy because it has a lot of humor in it, but there's also a lot of, obviously with her having a crush on this transfer student, there's a lot of romance in there, and honestly it's a really, really adorable story. That's just really fun to read, and cute story too, because obviously she's just trying to find love. The next story is a story called The Wolfman of Wulvershire by Kay Oliver, and this time it's actually a mystery, which is why it's really interesting. Lady Karina would rather be single forever than become any man's baby factory. So when she shows up at the Duke of Wulvershire's annual spring fling, wine and dine, it's a shock to everyone, but not more shocking than the ensuing series of murders. Will Karina make it out alive, and more importantly, will she find herself a hunky husband? The characters are very interesting in the sense that they have very peculiar personalities. Can't remember the name of the guy, but he's great. Karina is great as well. She has a very, very strong personality, and yeah. The next one is Everwake by Bianca Loran. It's considered a fantasy and it's a canvas, but it does update every Sunday. It's a suspenseful and thrilling steampunk fantasy adventure. When a fateful encounter brings AV Fate and Severus Sky together, they don't expect their search for answers to lead them down a darkening rabbit hole that will have them question everything they thought they knew about their lives and the world around them. Yeah, great story, again. I think the summary actually explains it quite well, so I would leave it at that and check it out yourself, if you are interested. The next story is the one that I've already mentioned at the very beginning of this video, and it's I Love You by Grimshi. I stopped at episode 131 at the mid-season premiere just because I'm scared to continue reading the story. I'm scared to see what happens next, to be honest, so I'm kind of procrastinating reading the story because I know that there's going to be a hell of a lot of things going on and I'm not emotionally prepared for that. But I do know it's a great story and I do really like it. For the summary, dodged by pain and misfortune from the very beginning, Shinhei decides she wants nothing to do with people nor anything to do with romance. Although content with her unsocial, boring, loveless existence, her lifestyle is challenged after she ruins an unsuspecting stranger's clothes. Updates every Friday. Yeah, there's a whole lot of drama, like family drama, and Shinhei, still don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but she has a lot of issues and she's just trying to do her best for her family and for people and for herself, and you really feel for her for that reason. It's a lot. I mean, she's not the only one who struggles in this story, but yeah, a lot of drama and action. The next one is called Morgana. I'm gonna say it in French just because I don't know how to say it in English. Morgana and Oz by Mayuli. It's a fantasy and an original. I found out about these characters, Morgana and Oz, on Instagram and I was straight away obsessed with them. So when I found out that it was actually a Webtoon story, well, it was turned into a Webtoon story, I was so excited. So obviously I read all the chapters already and it updates every Monday, which is honestly great because like this I'm more excited for it to be Monday than I would normally be because of lessons. But yeah, the summary is what happens when a struggling witch meets an angsty vampire. Either love or war. Morgana belongs to a long line of witches and Oz to the rival vampire clan. After a chance encounter and maybe a few stray spells, these two need to find a way to work together or risk all-out war between coven and clan. So as you can see, it's kind of a forbidden love story, a enemies to lovers story as well, which is just all around super interesting and I'm so excited to see how this story goes and unravels. Characters are amazing. Morgana is super clumsy and she's not a very good witch actually. She struggles a lot and her brother usually fixes most of her wrong curses that she throws around. So she's trying to become a better one while struggling at it. And a nice aspect of the story and of the art is that Morgana is actually taller than Oz. And it sounds like a very tiny detail, but I think it makes the story so much more endearing. I don't know, but it's just interesting, you know, because you're used to the male character being taller than the other one, and so I don't know. It's a nice touch, I think. But yeah, it's funny, it's sweet. I'm excited to see all the trouble that these characters are going to get themselves into. The next is called Pastel-Colored Pages. It's by Kyoashi Kayu. It's considered a drama, and the summary is, after hearing the devastating news about her condition, Ayane Kono, 29 years old, who is at the height of her writing career, knew that she was fighting a losing battle for her life. Instead of being struck by sadness, she accepted her fate and decided to live out the remainder of her life, doing the things that she loves and the experiences that she wishes to make memories of. She then met someone who would accompany her on her journey and paint the short story of her life with pastel-colored pages. It's just a really sweet story, bittersweet as well because obviously it's sad that she's dying and there are some very touching and heartbreaking episodes. But yeah, I think it's a lovely story to read, and the beginning is in black and white and then it becomes a coloured story. I just want to mention that. It's a canvas story. I don't know if I mentioned, no I didn't. It's a canvas story and yeah. The next story is called Let's Play by Lian M. Kresik, basically Monji. It's considered a romance and it's a original. You may have heard of that one if you have heard of a few Webtoon stories. It is a pretty popular one on the platform. At first, I wasn't really sure about the actual story. I don't really know why, but it was definitely not as quick for me to get into. But once I got into it, then I loved it. I loved the characters and the relationships between them, and I have not read the synopsis yet. I should probably do that before I actually say why I really like it. She's young, single, and about to achieve her dreams of creating incredible video games. But then life throws her a 1-2 punch. A popular streamer gives her first game a scathing review. Even worse, she finds out that some troublesome critic is now her new neighbor. A funny, sexy, and all-too-real story about gaming, memes, and social anxiety. Come for the plot, stay for the doggo. Updated every Tuesday. Yeah, it's very based on video games, and it makes very interesting things in the story. Like, there's a lot of breaking the fourth wall, and there are some panels that are actually gifts. There's just really funny things. There's a lot of friendships, and there's many important characters. The main character is Sam, and she struggles a lot with self-confidence, and you have these two male characters. One that I again adore because he's adorable. Can't remember his name. Oh my god, I'm usually really good with names, but the other male character is Charles, and he's really sweet as well because he really helps the characters that are present in the story, and I don't know, it's just a very lovely, funny as well, but also it has serious things. It's a really fun story and nice to read about. The next one is called Boyfriends with a dot by Refrain Bao. It's considered slice of life. It's an original story again. There are currently 99 episodes, but there's going to be a hiatus because the next chapter is season 1 final. The last chapter that I read was the 27th chapter. So there's many episodes that I haven't read, but I will be reading them. The summary: a comic about getting yourself a boyfriend or multiple boyfriends. 4 college students begin a polyamorous relationship and navigate the adventure that is their dating life. That's basically the story. There's these 4 really different guys. I think there's a sports guy, a popular guy, a nerd guy, a metal kind of, I don't know. But yeah, and they choose to become a polyamorous couple, if you can even call it that, but really sweet again. And the art is really cool. The next story is called The Prince of Southland by Chris Giroux, and it's considered a romance, and it's an original. For the summary, Donny Ali's shiny reputation is soiled the night he kissed an android. For romantic relationships with droids are deemed too dangerous and forbidden. But after his press release, another potential scandal emerges when he saves Jensen, a man on the run from an unknown assailant. Now living under the same roof and paparazzi on every corner, could this romance be even more disastrous than his first? It updates every Wednesday. Honestly, I think it's the summary that is the best summary that I've read. It just describes the story perfectly well, which is why I don't think I need to say anything else. Said everything that needed to be said. The next story is a pretty recent one. It's called It's Kind of a Funny Story. It's considered a romance, and it's by Soa Draws. It's canvas. I knew about these characters in the story from Instagram. About the summary, so it's LGBTQ+, and CW, occasional smoking and drinking. Alex is at the lowest point in his life. He has neither money nor love and resorts to sleeping on a friend's couch, waiting for his life to turn around. John is a normally happy-go-lucky guy, thrust into a new city and is in desperate need of a new friend. A chance encounter with each other at a bar on New Year's Eve changes their life forever, and a story of friendship, pining, and love is born. Updates every Saturday. But yeah, I knew that it would be a great story just because the characters were great from Instagram. I already know that the next chapters are going to be amazing. The next one is called Age Matters. It's a romance. It's by Angelicious. There are 153 episodes. It's about these 2 characters. Mostly, her name is not mentioned. No. The summary says that she's a hopeless romantic who's turning 30 and is not super happy about it. He's a reclusive billionaire who's hired her to be his assistant, and he's not too happy about that either. Together, they rewrite the rules of friendship, love, work, and the best way to clean someone's apartment. I don't know what I can say about this one. It's a good story. It's cute. You have very sweet chapters, and there's a side character who's called Dylan. If I'm wrong, then it's going to be very awkward, but he's fantastic and you really feel for these characters. I must say, because of all the rich kind of CO universe, there's quite a bit of drama. It's nice. It's a good story. I recommend. The next one is called Eaternal Nocturnal by Instant Miso, the same author who did Siren's Lament. It's considered a romance and it updates every Thursday. According to the summary, the man of her dream does exist. Too bad she can't fall asleep. When Eve is visited one night by a mysterious apparition, she finds that her chronic insomnia is miraculously cured. Meanwhile, Day, the Dream Eater, finds himself unexpectedly and unwillingly drawn to Eve. This can either be a dream come true or their worst nightmare. It's a very good summary. As the title suggests, Day is a dream eater. That means that at night, since the age of 6 I think, his body kind of takes this form of a spirit and he goes to eat other people's dreams so he can actually sleep. That's his way of sleeping, and by eating those dreams he allows the people he's visiting the dreams of to sleep well, basically. So that's kind of his night job. And one day he comes across Eve, who doesn't get to sleep at all. When he does visit, she does get to sleep, so they kind of come up with this contract to, see each other in her dreams. So like this, she can get some sleep and actually function in the day, and same for Day, who needs to consume dreams. But yeah, not yet has happened yet, but it's very intriguing and I've never seen a story similar to this on the platform, so I would definitely recommend you to give it a go because it's really sweet and the characters are really touching. It's funny. Day is absolutely adorable. He's so cute and the story is so good. The art again is amazing. You can really see her improve compared to her older stories. It's really good. It's so sweet and I really look forward to it being Thursday because it's an overall fantastic story. So yeah, give it a go. The next story is called Concerto for Two Pianos by Calico.zc. Again, I learned about this story and these characters and this artist on Instagram, and then they started posting on Webtoon. It's considered a romance and it's a canvas story. The art is amazing, has a lot of coverage about minorities. Now for the summary. Fionn is a piano prodigy. Ludwig, a famous pianist and composer. When you get an offer to collaborate with your lifelong idol, you'd think, what could go wrong? But when you enter someone else's intimate life to work together, that's when things can become complicated. LGBTQ+, with trans-positive and neurodivergent representation. But yeah, a lovely story with music in it, and yeah, I think the synopsis says a lot about the story. The next story is called Lovebot. I've only read until episode 30, again, have not read all of the chapters, but from what I have read, I think it's worth reading. In 2049, highly advanced and affectionate robots are becoming humanity's primary companions in place of real relationships. Xader makes his living by modifying these bots to fit their owner's specific wants and needs. However, his newest job leaves the Lovebot strangely sentient and asking for his help. Sparks will fly as Xader relearns human connection and helps uncover the truth behind the Lovebot's existence. Lovebot is by Chase Keels, and the story is currently on hiatus because the last chapter is a season final, so it will come back for season 2. Yeah, no, it's a good story about these two characters who come from very different worlds and who happen to come across each other through circumstances, and they end up trying to help each other as well. But they get in trouble a lot. You do worry about them because you get attached to these characters. It's intriguing, it's a good story. From what I've read, you know that they mean a lot to each other. So yeah. Anyway, the next story is called Heartstopper by Alice Osman. It was first posted on Webtoon and now it's available as physical books. I personally heard of the physical books first and then saw that they were on Webtoon. But it's these two characters, so there's Charlie, a highly strong, openly gay overthinker, and Nick, a cheerful, soft-hearted rugby player, meet at a British all-boys grammar school. Friendship blooms quickly, but could there be something more? Obviously, there is. So yeah, there's love, that's very much at the center of the story, and also mental health is a very, very big one. But yeah, it's just a cute story about these two boys, and there's also other characters obviously with friendships and family. But yeah, it's a really good story that I recommend reading. The next story is called Brass and Sass by Antlerella. It's a romance and an original story. It's on season 3. There's a lot of episodes with music and the art is so adorable too. Here's a synopsis. It may have been the music that attracted her to band class, but it was love that made her stay, even if she doesn't have any musical talent whatsoever. But what high schooler Camilla likes in ability, she makes up for in passion, especially when it comes to Victor, the handsome musician who's caught her eye. Will love rule the day, even when your crush of choice is a real brass hole? Read on to find out. Updates every Thursday. It's honestly just much more than that. There's a lot of friendship and love and just these high schoolers figuring out life and dealing with family problems and, you know, these parents wanting the best for you but also doing it in a very bad way, and just self-discovery. And yeah, it's really sweet. Honestly, I really recommend it. Again, the next story is probably a story that you might have heard of. It's called Law Olympus by Rachel Smythe. It's considered a romance and it's a original. It's basically a take on Greek mythology. The summary is as follows. Witness what the gods do after dark. The friendships and the lies, the gossip and the wild parties, and of course, forbidden love. Because it turns out the gods aren't so different from us after all, especially when it comes to their problems. Stylish and immersive, this is one of mythology's greatest story, the taking of Persephone, as it's never been told before. It updates every Sunday. The last episode was a mid-season final, a extraordinary episode. Honestly, can't wait to see what happens afterwards. So yeah, it's on a break for a couple months. I think it's coming back in May, possibly. It's a few months of break, I know that. So if you are looking for a story that you have time to read, then I would recommend Law Olympus. It's really interesting. Personally, I don't know practically anything about Greek mythology and I absolutely love this story. I do get to learn a lot about the actual stories or myths, and also learn about just her take on Greek mythology and turn them into something modern. I think is super interesting, and obviously I love the relationship between Persephone and Hades. The next story also updates on Sundays and it's Stray Souls by Math. And for this one, just like the Secrets of Soulford, I am absolutely blown away by the world building and the intricacy of the world that Math has created with this story. It's so well thought out and the characters are so interesting and the whole aspects of it are just wow. It's a fantasy. For the summary, the strings that bind our souls can be used to control us and others. While Aileen is not particularly good at string weaving, her unique soul structure does make her resistant to magical manipulation, which, when you're the last person standing between the Amethyst King and his quest for ultimate power, is a very, very good thing. Again, absolutely fantastic story, and there's romance in there, so love it. Plus, it's just so cool. The last story that I'm going to mention today is one of my top 3 stories. I've never seen so many blushes in one story, and it's called Blades of Furry by Dea Muniz and Emily Erdos. It's considered a romance and it's an original story, and as the name entails, it's about characters who are furries. I think I don't really know much about furries, but they're kind of the animals but without being animals. For the synopsis, Emil is an up-and-coming skater in the beloved sport of skate battles, a high-stakes combo of figure skating and martial arts. Radu is a well-known senior skater and several-time champion with the world at his feet. However, during an ill-fated match between the two, Emil discovers Radu's secret, which could threaten to destroy him. Will Emil keep his secret, or could this rivalry turn into something more? Updates every Sunday. It's such a sweet story, and I know it's kind of like furry related, but I saw a comment that I completely agreed with, and it said that when you read the story you forget that they are animals and you just see them as people and characters who are very much passionate about skating and who are trying to, you know, fall in love and possibly make friendships, but also not be caught by certain things. Basically, Radu is a vampire, and if you're a vampire you can't be part of the skating thing, so he's just trying his best not to be caught up, but there's, you know, people trying to get him out of the competition. Very stressful for these characters to be part of the skating business competition. Yes, Radu and Emil, and they really care about each other, and they're adorable. Radu is adorable, they blush all the time, and it's just a wonderful story. Yeah, there you go. My top 3 stories are Midnight Poppyland, The Secrets of Soulford, Blades of Furry, and Suitor Armor, and Law Olympus. Law Olympus is kind of like top 3, but like a second kind of top 3, I guess. But yeah, I think I said what I wanted to say about the stories. I've been filming for hours. I know, I did not expect to take so long to actually talk about these webtoons, comics, but I have, and my throat is completely dry now. I've been trying to drink a lot of water throughout this video, but yeah, I hope you find what you were looking for. There's obviously so many more stories that I have not mentioned, that I'm reading, or that I have in my subscription box that I have not yet read yet. So this recommendation is not obviously all that there is, and I'm sure you can find many other stories that are great on the app, and if you do, then I'd love to talk about them in the comments. And even if you want to talk about the stories that I have mentioned in the comments, then I would gladly do so. And if you have liked this video, then give this video a thumbs up. It's very appreciated. But yeah, anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, thumbs up, and I'll see you soon. Bye!